A very warm welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Shanakshi Chakravarti. The top story that we're tracking. Protests against Agnipath, a radical recruitment plan for the armed forces, turned violent on Thursday as army aspirants disrupted rail and road traffic in several parts of Bihar for the second consecutive day. Trains stopped, arson, BJP MLA attacked, local office burnt across Bihar. Stone pelting in Haryana was also witnessed. Police had to open fire. And protesters are actually protesting against the 4-year tenure. No lifelong pension after. Protesters are also angry over the 2-year freeze on army recruitments. The government says false narrative being created, the youth is being misled. Allies Nitish and Amrinder, the opposition, ramp up their pressure and they urge the centre to rethink. Meanwhile, phone, internet and SMS services have been suspended for 24 hours in Haryana's Palwal district following stone pelting and violence by army aspirants. Police had to resort to aerial firing after a mob attacked them and set their vehicles on fire. Here is a ground report.
Armed forces aspirants on the warpath over Agnipath. The government's new recruitment plan for the armed forces. Most controversial is the fact that the majority of the 46,000 soldiers recruited will only have a 4-year tenure, get no pension, and the maximum age limit is 21 years old. Bihar, UP, Haryana and parts of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh saw huge protests against the government's new scheme. The anger fueled by the fact that recruitment camps to the armed forces have been stalled for the last 2 years.
एक नया रूल आया है टीओडी के तहत सरकार ने मात्र 4 साल के लिए भर्ती प्रक्रिया चालू करना चाहती है, जिससे हम लोगों का उम्र आज बर्बाद हो चुका है।
ये आपको निर्णय वापस लेना होगा। अगर हम लोग में पावर है, सरकार आपको बना भी सकते हैं और सरकार बिगाड़ भी सकते हैं।
The worst violence was in Bihar, where protesters indulged in arson, stopped trains and pelted stones, damaging buses and engaging in pitched battles with the police. In Bihar's Nawada, protesters attacked BJP MLA Aruna Devi and also torched the local BJP office.
हम लोग को पता नहीं था कि हल्ला हंगामा हो रहा है तो हम नहीं आते। हम लोग अचानक आए, उसके बाद झंडा बोर्ड नोच के फेंक दिया और ईंटा पत्थर बरसाने लगा पूरा। अभी भी ईंटा जो है 3-4 गो गाड़ी के अंदर है, शीशा पूरा चूर दिया, बॉडी चूर दिया, गाड़ी के अंदर बांस है और गार्ड के चोट लगा, ड्राइवर के लगा, हम लोग के लगा, इतना ने ईंटा बरसाने लगा ने कि कुछ कह नहीं सकते।
Protests erupted in Haryana's Rewari, Palwal and Gurugram. Police had to open fire to disperse the protesters in Palwal district when stone pelting happened near the Deputy Commissioner's office. In Rewari, lathi charges by the police against crowds of young men. Rewari district is at the forefront in Haryana in terms of sending youngsters to the armed forces. The internet has been suspended in Palwal. The government has tried to address protesters' concerns, stating that it will ensure priority recruitment for Agniveers into paramilitary forces, Agniveers to get priority in state police forces, credits for Agniveers in degree program, 50% credits to come from Agnipath entry. Students need to choose remaining courses, Ministry of Education to enter MOU with armed forces. BJP chief ministers including Yogi Adityanath, Shivraj Singh Chauhan and ML Khattar have said that Agniveers will get priority in state recruitment. But along with the aspirants, political criticism has also become louder. The tense situation prompted the BJP's ally JDU to ask the government to reconsider its decision as opposition politicians from Rahul Gandhi to Arvind Kejriwal and Tejasvi Yadav hit out at the new plan.
भारत सरकार के को इस पर लोगों से राय लेनी चाहिए, लोगों के साथ बैठ के बात करनी चाहिए।
अपील करेंगे छात्रों से शांति बनाए रखें।
हम लोग इस पर कोई कमेंट नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि भारत सरकार का मामला, हम लोग भी भारत सरकार से मांग कर रहे हैं कि जब विरोध हो रहा है तो उनके यूनियन वगैरह के साथ जो ग्रुप है उनके साथ बैठ करके लोग बात करें।
The Agnipath scheme is controversial, carries multiple risks, subverts the long-standing traditions and ethos of the armed forces, and there is no guarantee that the soldiers recruited under the scheme will be better trained and motivated to defend the country.
अपनी आर्म फोर्सेस को इसमें भले ही सेविंग ओवर की बात छोड़िए, और अधिक जितनी खर्च करने की आवश्यकता होगी, हमारी गवर्नमेंट खर्च करने को तैयार है। हमारा लक्ष्य यही है कि देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा होनी चाहिए, देश हमारा पूरी तरह से सुरक्षित रहना चाहिए। खर्च जितना भी करना पड़ेगा तब खर्च करेंगे, खर्च का तो प्रश्न ही नहीं खड़ा होता।
Last year, the government had withdrawn the farm laws after a year-long protest by farmers largely from Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Punjab. Now protests over the Agniveer scheme has erupted in more states. NDTV Bureau Report.
Shifting focus to news from the Supreme Court, who on Thursday sternly said demolitions have to be in accordance with the law, they cannot be retaliatory. The UP government and the civic authorities of Prayagraj and Kanpur were also asked to respond to a Supreme Court notice on demolitions before the next hearing on Tuesday. Here is a report.
A stern warning to the Adityanath government by the Supreme Court. Demolitions can only happen in accordance with the law and not as a retaliatory measure. The top court's observations came on a petition by the Muslim organization Jamiyat Ulema-e-Hind that asked the court to act against officials responsible for what they called the illegal demolition of houses of those accused of inciting violent protests against controversial comments on Prophet Muhammad by two ex-BJP leaders. The Supreme Court observed, everything should look fair. We expect the authorities to act only in accordance with the law.
In court, lawyers for the petitioner called the demolitions shocking and appalling, alleging that the notices were served just before the houses were razed and no time was given to respond. The UP government, however, asserted that it had followed the law.
In court, C.U. Singh, a lawyer for the petitioner, said, adequate notices are a must. What is being done is unconstitutional and shocking. It is being done by targeting a community. In response, Harish Salve, appearing for the UP government, said the due course of law is followed for demolitions. The media links the demolitions with political statements unnecessarily. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta argued, if the house has been constructed without following any laws at all, then they can't say that they should not even be touched. Justice A.S. Bopanna, one of the two SC judges hearing the case, said, the UP government will get time for their objections. We should ensure the safety of the affected parties in the meantime. Let's be clear, they are also part of society. Ultimately, when someone has a grievance, they have a right to have it addressed, said Justice Bopanna.
There are hundreds and thousands of houses in any city which may be unauthorized. But you don't target them. You just target those people whose name you have put in FIR, and without undertaking those legal process, overnight the bulldozer is placed under the house and the house is demolished.
On the ground in Prayagraj, the Supreme Court hearing brought some hope for the family and lawyers of politician Javed Mohammed, who the police allege is the mastermind behind last Friday's violence in the city and whose bungalow was razed by bulldozers on Sunday.
सबसे बड़ी बात यह कि वो घर उनका था ही नहीं जिसको आपने गिरा दिया, वो उनकी पत्नी के नाम से था, पत्नी को पिता ने उनके दिया था। आपने उस घर गिरा के उस पत्नी और उनके बच्चे और उनको बहुओं को आप सड़क पे ला दिया।
The case will be heard again in the Supreme Court on Tuesday. For the Prayagraj administration, the immediate priority are the Friday prayers tomorrow, for which there will be very tight security not only in this city, but in other locations across Uttar Pradesh. With Sukirti Dwivedi, Rajesh Gupta and Nitin Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
The ED on Thursday granted the request made by Rahul Gandhi to defer the summons to Monday. The ED has in fact accepted Rahul Gandhi's request. This is also coming at a time when the ED had earlier summoned Rahul for questioning on Friday, but he had sought an exemption on Thursday, and after that he wrote to the ED asking if that could be deferred to Monday, and now the probe agency has accepted that request. Meanwhile, Congress leader RENUKA CHOWDHURY was charged with assaulting a policeman. She said that she lost her balance and hence grabbed him by the collar to steady herself.
I'm not pulling him. You please notice how much I'm gripping his collar and notice that my left arm is being twisted. You expect someone of my age and my size to keep my balance?
Shifting news from Punjab now, the Punjab police have claimed that a small clue found in the vehicle used in the crime followed by technical inputs helped them unveil the trail of events that occurred before the murder of Punjabi singer Shubdeep Singh Sidhu, also known as Sidhu Moosewala. The clue eventually led to the arrest of 10 people, including the main conspirator, gangster Lawrence Bishnoi. Take a look.
All eyes are on this 31-year-old man, Lawrence Bishnoi, mastermind of the Sidhu Moosewala's murder in Mansa district of Punjab, who is now in police custody. Punjab police have been given 7 days to question Bishnoi. Bishnoi petitioned the court against being handed over to the Punjab police. He alleged he could be killed in an encounter. Bishnoi, who runs a gang of 700 members, fear that he may be eliminated by his rivals. Bishnoi's gang is believed to be involved in several murders and extortion cases in Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab and Rajasthan. His target, popular musicians and sports personalities. Bishnoi openly operated from the Tihar jail. Bishnoi would call up his associates outside the prison to order hits on rivals. He would demand ransom from musicians and sports personalities. To escape detection by Indian agencies, Bishnoi and his associates have moved to Voice over Internet Protocol, a technology that allows you to make phone calls over the Internet. He uses this to communicate with associates living in the UK, Canada and Armenia.
इस केस का बेसिकली जो आप इस टाइम पे जानना चाहते हैं ये नहीं बता सकते, हम ये बता सकते हैं कि he is the mastermind behind the killing. कैसे किया वो we will not be able to share.
But why did he kill Sidhu Moosewala? As per police sources, this was a case of revenge killing. Sidhu Moosewala was Lawrence Bishnoi's target for extortion after becoming popular. Vikramjit Singh, alias Vicky Midukhera, an Akali Dal youth leader and college mate of Bishnoi, was tasked to carry out the extortion. It's alleged that Moosewala directed his manager Shagunpreet Singh to eliminate Vicky Midukhera. Shagunpreet's name also surfaced in the murder probe of Vicky Midukhera, who was killed last year. After this, Lawrence Bishnoi was waiting for an opportunity to eliminate Sidhu. Lawrence Bishnoi allegedly took his Canadian aide Goldie Brard's help to carry out the murder. Instead of picking up local shooters, the killers were hired from different states. One of the accused, Sandeep Singh, alias Kekra, from Haryana's Sirsa district, stayed in Moosewala's village for weeks to monitor the movements and is believed to be the main person who gave the crucial tip of Moosewala's movement on the fateful day. According to the footage released by the Punjab police, the killers posed as Moosewala's fans and mingled in the crowd to get close to him. The last moments of Moosewala unfolded in a dramatic way. He was in his village and wanted to see his uncle just 5 kilometers away and decided to go without his security or arms. Sidhu had just left unarmed. Apparently, these were the words used by one of the members of the killer gang to signal to a waiting party who sprayed the bullets at close range. Till now, Punjab police has arrested 10 people in the murder case of Sidhu Moosewala. But none of them are the shooters who actually carried out the murderous attack on the singer. With 7 days custody of Lawrence Bishnoi, the police aims to unravel the entire plot and motive behind the killing of the singer. With Mohammad Ghazali Osama Shah for NDTV.
Markets erase gains post-Fed hike. The Bank of England also raises rates. Dow falls to the lowest level in over a year. Sakshi with the details.
The Bank of England has raised UK interest rates to a 13-year high at 1.25%. This is the 5th straight rate hike to battle rising inflation. The US Fed also raised its benchmark interest rate by 0.75 percentage point, its biggest interest rate hike in nearly 3 decades. to battle surging inflation that is at a 4-decade high.
I will begin with one overarching message. We at the Fed understand the hardship that high inflation is causing. We're strongly committed to bringing inflation back down, and we're moving expeditiously to do so. We have both the tools we need and the resolve that it will take to restore price stability on behalf of American families and businesses.
Experts believe what is worrying is the projection of a slowing US economy and rising unemployment in months to come. This, of course, has led to a meltdown in Indian markets as well, with both the Sensex and the Nifty tumbling over 2%. The Sensex plunged 1,045 points and ended at 51,495, and the Nifty fell 331 points to close at 15,360, the lowest close for the benchmark indices in over an year. Senior financial analyst Sanchita Mukherjee believes the medium to long-term growth story in India is intact due to structural growth drivers. However, short-term volatility, uncertainty and ambiguity in the capital markets shall remain. So how does this significant Fed rate hike impact you and me in India in the near term? When the US Fed raises policy rates, India looks less attractive in terms of rates, and lower growth projections in the US also spell negative news for global growth. However, in the long run, with predictions of a bleak US economy, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war and volatile commodity prices, could India be resistant to global shocks? That really is the big question. Sakshi Bajaj for NDTV.
Now in rain-hit Assam, over 11 lakh people have been affected across 25 districts in the state. The worst hit is a newly formed district called Bajali. 2 siblings, minors, were buried alive in a landslide in Golpara town after heavy rains triggered a landslide in the area. Their bodies have been recovered from the debris. Let's take a look at this ground report by my colleague Ratnadeep.
Parts of the National Highway 6 in Meghalaya's East Jaintia Hills caved in due to landslides triggered by incessant rains trapping several vehicles. The landslide has partially cut Tripura, Mizoram, southern Assam and parts of Meghalaya from the rest of the country. Across Meghalaya, flash floods, heavy rains have been reported. Cherrapunji got 811.6 millimeters of rainfall in 24 hours ending on Wednesday, the highest in June since 1995. And India's wettest place, Masinram, received 710.6 millimeters rainfall. Government says coming 2 days are crucial.
I had taken a review meeting on video conferencing with all the respective deputy commissioners and officials from the different districts, as well as honorable ministers had joined. And post the meeting, we have decided to form 4 regional committees, and also specifically to ensure that the safety and security of the citizens of our state, and also to ensure that the other movement of essential commodities are done in a smooth manner.
In neighbouring Assam, many parts of lower Assam have witnessed flash floods from Thursday. 2 siblings, minors, were today buried alive in a landslide in Assam's Golpara town after heavy rains triggered a landslide in the area. Their dead bodies have been recovered from the debris. The side walls of their house collapsed due to the landslide. 6 people have died in Assam alone in past 3 days in landslides. This year, already 44 people have died in the state due to floods and landslides.
3:30 बजे ये इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बोर्ड को खबर दिया हूँ, लेकिन अभी तक कोई नहीं आया। ये दुर्घटना हुआ बारिश का वजह से, ज़मीन नीचे गिर गया, कॉलगस भी है और 2 लाइट का पोस्ट भी गिर गया। लेकिन हमारा पब्लिक मिल के थोड़ा रास्ता क्लियर किया, साफ किया, लेकिन जो लाइट का पोस्ट है ये हम लोग उठा नहीं सकता हूँ।
With the rain warning till this weekend, Assam might be bracing for yet another wave of floods. With Ratnadeep Chaudhary, Usama Shah for NDTV.
In fact, Ratnadeep joins us now for more. Ratnadeep, in just one day, nearly 11 lakh people affected. 2 minors were even buried alive. Is this the worst Assam has seen in recent memory?
Well, this is perhaps one of the worst floods that Assam has witnessed. Remember, there have been many, massive floods in Assam In fact, in the last 1 decade that I have been reporting out of Northeast, I have at least covered 3 major floods in the region. But to actually see over 10 lakh people getting affected in floods is very unprecedented. I remember something of this sort had happened way back in 2012 during the 2012 flood. In fact, the 2017 flood was also very huge, but unprecedented rainfall has taken place. Assam has received 121% more rain than normal in this week, and therefore already today there have been 4 fresh deaths, taking the death toll in the last 3 days to 10. More than 11 lakh people are affected in more than 1,700 villages. So understand that 1,700 villages are affected. Bajali, which is one of the new districts which has been created, is the worst hit with over 3 lakh people affected. 68,000 people have been moved to relief camps, and 25 districts in the state are affected. At least 6 rivers at this moment are flowing over danger level. That includes the Brahmaputra in at least 2 places. And over 20 hectares of cropland is inundated. So this is very unprecedented, and perhaps if the rain continues, the situation might turn more worse. In neighboring Meghalaya, 5 people have died in landslides in the past 24 hours, and the state government has formed high-level committees, 4 of them, to look into different regions, and the state government has clearly said that the coming 48 hours are going to be very, very crucial.
All right, Ratnadeep, thanks very much for joining us at this moment for more. So, in just 1 day, over 11 lakh people affected in those flash floods in Assam, perhaps the worst since 2012, as you were mentioning. And the next 48 hours crucial as well, as red alert for the state continues. Shifting focus to news from Sri Lanka now, citizens held a protest in Sri Lanka's biggest city, Colombo, on Thursday against the alleged favouring of Indian industrialist Gautam Adani's group in the award of an energy project in Mannar district. They alleged that the Adani group got the project as part of a dubious deal between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. And over 1,000 NRI women, mostly doctors and bankers, showed up at Britain's most valued Royal Escort race meeting in traditional saris. This event is often attended by the Queen, who recently celebrated her Platinum Jubilee. The sari-clad women of Indian origin are showcasing India's culture on a world platform of fashion. This is to throw light on the plight of Indian weavers, particularly after the pandemic. And that's a wrap from all of us on this bulletin, but stay tuned to NDTV for all the latest.